I said I would look back at the bad juju and Celestial Nighthawk build I made last season, and yeah, I'm finally getting around to that. So, how is it? How does it compare to last season? It's a lot better. Mainly because pulse rifles this season have overload, which makes bad juju more viable in, higher end content. And it got a 12.5% damage buff, which is really nice. Not to mention that Celestial Nighthawk gives you super energy on precision final blow now, so you're getting like at least 2% every kill, but more realistically, you're getting almost 4% or almost 6% every kill, which is insane amounts of super gen on top of, passively generating your super, picking up orbs, and Celestial Nighthawk does more damage. And if you get a kill with it, you get a third of it back. This thing is kind of insane this season. Now, this build isn't going to be the greatest thing for GMs, I already know it, because bad juju, although it got buffed this season, isn't that great. But lower end content and like content where you have champions, but it's not like cranked difficulty, this is a very strong build. It's very fun to use. So let's just start at the beginning with subclass configuration. Of course, your subclass should be Gunslinger, so Solar Hunter, that out of the way. Super should be Marksman, Golden Gun. That way you could do precision damage, making Celestial Nighthawk a little bit better. Your dodge can be whatever you want. Marksman's dodge, in my opinion, isn't super useful with bad juju, being that it auto reloads itself. You could go with Gambler's dodge, but I'm just a big fan of Acrobat's dodge myself. Yes, it has a longer cooldown on it, but it does make you Radiant. So having Radiant up more often means your other weapons are anti-barrier more often. Plus, damage buffs are really nice. Your melee, use whatever you want. I use Knife Trick, it's just kind of my favorite of all of them. But use whatever you're comfortable with. Grenade, I went with Healing Grenade. You can do whatever you want. I just feel like Healing Grenade is the most versatile in all levels of content. Because, if you're almost dead, not being dead is a better option. So healing grenades are very good. We don't use Gunpowder Gamble in this household. Yes, it's a very fun aspect. But what's better? Something you can blow yourself up with. Or, hear me out here, something that buffs your super. And then another aspect that gives you the ability to have 5 fragment slots. Speaking of fragments, let's just get into it. So, starting off, we got Ember of Beams. Solar Super projectiles have stronger target acquisition. I'm not sure how much it works on Golden Gun, but we do get plus 10 intellect, and that's going to help us get our super even faster. Then, moving on, we have Ember of Singeing. This is for if you're a solo player. If you're playing in a team, Ember of Mercy could go here and be just as valuable, if not more, because reviving allies will give you restoration, and that's very good. Plus, you get 10 resilience from it. Anyways, Ember of Singeing, you scorch an enemy with your class ability, and you get class ability back. Or, of course, your melee can scorch them too. So, yeah, it's pretty good. Then we have Ember of Combustion. Final blows with solar supers cause targets to ignite and create fire sprites. Very good if you're taking down a champion or a mini boss with Celestial Nighthawk and they're surrounded by enemies, because you can ignite the main enemy and all the little ones take damage. Then we got Ember of Ashes to apply more scorch to targets, and Ember of Solace. And if you're using Ember of Combustion, you may want to look for a way to get Ember of Char in there, or maybe Eruption. That just depends on you. If there's a certain fragment that you feel like isn't really benefiting you within the kit, that might be a good thing to do to make your build even more effective. Now, let's get into the artifact Honestly, the artifact doesn't matter that much for this build because bad juju is kinetic, and that is holding it back this season compared to the rest of this build. So Overload Pulse Rifle will help you out. You can stun an Overload champion, pull out Golden Gun, shoot the champion, and depending on the difficulty of the content level, that will be enough to kill them. Or if you hit them first with a throwing knife, because you should have Revitalizing Blasts on, that'll help too, because they'll have a 15% debuff on them. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Column 2. If you have a solar heavy or a solar special weapon you're using, I went ahead and used Wilder Flight from Spire of the Watcher. I understand not everyone has that, or they just don't want to run it. So a solar grenade launcher or solar trace rifle would work well here. Solar shotgun also, depending on your area of engagement. Maybe a solar sniper would be good too. So kindling trigger could be good here, but I went ahead and used blast radius and from whence you came. So if I ever encounter Taken or Scorn, which is decently common, then I have more ability damage against them, including my super. Then moving on, we got Torch. So when we're Radiant and something is debuffed by Strand or Stasis, we deal more damage. You could use Flint Striker again if you're using like a Solar Trace Rifle or a Solar Sniper and you want to get precision kills like that. Of course, Heart of the Flame to, you know, make our allies radiant and increases the damage of our super for each nearby ally. That is just insane with Celestial Nighthawk. If you're playing solo, definitely not as valuable, but if you're playing in a group, Heart of the Flame will be very good. Wished into Being, another good one, especially if you have Season of the Wish armor equipped, but you know, it's not necessary. So if you have heavy-handed or something on, you can throw your knives, they get kills, and with Knife Trick, it does a funny thing where if you kill 3 enemies at the same time with Knife Trick, you'll make 3 orbs. So if you also have Wished into Being on, you can make another orb too. So that might be worth using. Revitalizing Blast, of course I already said it, but you know, solar abilities weaken champions. So you stun the Overload champion with bad juju, you throw Knife Trick at them, they're weakened, pop Golden Gun, headshot them, they ignite, blow up, kill everything around it. That's optimally what will happen, but it's not necessarily what's gonna happen. Overload rocket launcher, I went ahead and I used Apex Predator. It's a solar rocket launcher. It does good damage, has great perks, so I went ahead and used that with Overload rocket launchers to deal more damage to those Overload champions that I was just talking about. Then I went ahead, Rays of Precision. Solar Vinyl blows cause combatants to ignite. If you're using a Solar Trace Rifle, this would be great. Like if you're holding on the Celestial Nighthawk for a mini boss or a boss, Trace Rifle could be your ad clear because it's better than bad juju at doing that. Or a Solar LMG or something. You can make ignitions while you're radiant. You're radiant a lot of the time with this build. And then I went with Argent Ordnance because I was using a rocket launcher. Solo op could be put in there for whichever one of those you're not using, or you could go back and pick up one of the earlier ones. Alright, now let's talk about those armor mods, alright? So, Celestial Nighthawk, put a kinetic siphon in there. You know, it's already getting you a lot of super energy paired with bad juju, but why not make it more super energy? And I went ahead and used power preservation to make more orbs for allies. If you're playing solo, that's not super useful. Maybe you do another kinetic siphon, or you do a finder mod. It's really up to you there. And I also picked Radiant Light, so whenever I super, my allies get armor charge, because that's just, you know, useful for them. Then arm mods, there's a lot of freedom here. I went with heavy-handed because melee final blows create orbs of power. And then I went with kinetic loader, really not necessary at all because bad juju reloads itself on kill, so you could pretty much go anywhere with it. And then I went with impact induction, so whenever I get a powered melee, whenever I deal damage with my powered melee, I get more energy towards my healing grenade. So honestly, two impact inductions with a heavy-handed would be very nice. So you have more healing grenades more often just from dealing damage with your melee. In our chest piece, run whatever you want. Whatever the relevant resistances are, run those. I really like emergency reinforcement. I pretty much run it in every build. Then for our legs, use only two kinetic surges. Don't use 3. There's not really very many scenarios where you need 3 in the game anyways. But if you have 3, you won't deal increased damage with Golden Gun. If you use 2 kinetic surges, you do. So that's also going to be buffing our Celestial Nighthawk. As long as we have armor charge, being radiant also increases it. So you're getting a lot there. And go ahead and put on recuperation. So each time we pick up an orb, we get health, which is very nice. And finally, for our class item, our cloak, I went with Reaper, Proximity Ward, and I just did Bomber to help reduce the healing grenade cooldown again. And yeah, that's about the build. You want to have your intelligence up, and resilience, of course, always needs up. Mobility, preferably higher, but that's about it for this build. I hope you try it out. I hope you have a lot of fun with it because it is a really fun build. Of course, going into higher end content, you want to tweak a few things, maybe take off the bad juju. But Celestial Nighthawk is great this season. I've been saying that for a while, that it's going to be good. It came out with the rework, and it's so good. So yeah, anyways, thank you for stopping by. Please try out this build. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me any builds you're using this season, and I'll see you next time.